midseason showdown or spring playoffs or whatever you want to call them are starting this Saturday, and I was able to use Travis's connections to get a leaked copy of the script for the entire bracket, which is really good because without that I don't think I'd have any chance of predicting this correctly. Based on some key statistical comparisons, here's how I see the midseason showdown bracket playing out. We start with TSM and Team Liquid on Saturday, March 20th. For most of spring, Team Liquid and TSM have been fighting for consideration as the second best team in North America, even if the standings didn't always show it. I said 2 episodes ago that I favored Team Liquid over TSM head-to-head, and I still think that's true. Early objective control is a key reason why, with Team Liquid doing a better job of securing early dragons and rift heralds and gaining control of games. This might end up being one of the best series of the entire bracket, but I think TL will come out ahead on the strength of their first 20 minutes. The other first round matchup isn't likely to be as close. 100 Thieves are trying to rediscover themselves after calling up Ryoma from Academy, but they still look like pretty much the same team as before. Their advanced gold metrics just don't hold up to C9. They play with fewer leads and larger deficits, even though their early game performs reasonably well. This should be a fairly straightforward C9 win. After the opening matches, TSM will drop to the lower bracket, where they'll come up against the dark horse team of the playoffs, Evil Geniuses. With Impact and Jizuke in the solo lanes, there absolutely are ways EG can take this series. But consistency has been an issue for EG, who have been trying to rid themselves of a tendency to start fights too often and from weak positions, which is costing them a lot of neutral objectives at different stages of the game. I see TSM surviving this series and moving forward. In the other lower bracket match this round, Dignitas' all-NA roster gets a chance to continue their surprising spring performance against a 100 Thieves roster without a single NA member. Someday and Friends have some issues to work through, but when you compare how the two teams have been performing in the last 3 weeks, based on differences in gold spent at the end of their games, it's pretty clear that Dignitas' Cinderella run has been hearing the midnight bells toll for a little while now. If Dignitas can clutch out enough late-game teamfights and Baron steals to win this series, I'll be as excited as anyone. But it doesn't seem likely. Now we're moving on in the upper bracket, and here's where things get really interesting. Remember 2 weeks ago when I said, but while I would pick Team Liquid to beat TSM if they played head-to-head, I actually think TSM will have a better chance against C9 in best of 5s. Well, we've gathered 6 more games of evidence since then for each team. This series could go either way, but when you look at Team Liquid's continuing ability to create and maintain gold leads, the numbers tell a very compelling story. Based on recent trends, C9 will need some real heroics from Blabber to overcome TL's early game freight train. Of course, that's exactly what Blabber does best, so be ready for anything in this one. I'm changing my mind and giving Team Liquid a slight edge. Back in the lower bracket, 100 Thieves match up pretty well against TSM in some ways, with a stronger early game rating and a powerful 2v2 bot lane. But TSM have been far more stable in clutch mid and late game situations and teamfights. Mid-late rating measures the difference between a team's expected win rate based on their early game and their actual win rate. And as you can see, TSM have done a good job of closing out leads and making comebacks. The Thieves' early game advantages won't be big enough to survive TSM's stronger late game. So TSM will get to ride some momentum into a match against Cloud9. I've already given Team Liquid a nod to beat C9, so how about the other leading candidates? Let's look at the head-to-head early game ratings from the 2 times these teams faced each other in the regular season. Yep, that's a big ol' 92.4, as in, at the 15-minute mark of their 2 games, Cloud9 had an average win probability of 92.4%. TSM found 1 comeback against those odds in Week 5, but asking them to do that 3 times in 5 games is a bit much. I still think TSM have a shot here if they can stop themselves from getting blown out early, but I favor C9 to earn a second go-around with TL in the finals. Now we're in rematch territory, and as much as I'd love to spice things up by predicting a different result, I have no real grounds for it. Let's just take a moment to appreciate Alfari's laning stats. So that's it. Those are my predictions for the Midseason Showdown bracket. I'm calling for Team Liquid to beat Cloud9 twice and become the Midseason champions, so they can book a ticket to Iceland for the Midseason Invitational, where they can compete to become the Midseason champions.
Listen, if you're watching this, there is I think like a 10% chance. I think that's like my Canadian audience. Like 1 in 10 of you that are watching this right now are Canadian. And up until now, you were not able to get 10% off your order of an Alienware computer. And I have spent every single night since I inked the very first Alienware deal staring at my ceiling, where in my memory, like just it doesn't actually exist in real life, but like my brain transposes a Canadian flag onto my ceiling as I'm staring at it 3:30 in the morning, wide awake. And in order to get this resolved and my ability to sleep, I got it. So you guys have a code now. So Travis 10 off. You can use it to save 10% off your order, just like us Americans down here to your south. I did this for you. Appreciate me.